Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Playing World of Tanks. I'm AJ, and today we'll be looking at a game that I had in my 113, which is the Chinese Tier 10 Heavy Tank. Now, I've not had that many games uploaded on my channel concerning the 113 just because I don't get to play it as often. I'm grinding tanks more often than not, and Tier 10s I play 1 or 2 games a day. It's kind of hard to get like a really good game when you only play like a couple of games in every tier 10 tank that you have. So this game being one of the standouts for a number of reasons. First of all, you'll see how to use the 113's armor effectively. I'll try to point out where I made some mistakes and how could I do those things well. Now, if you saw the previous video on the T62A, I sort of like went in the middle and used the ridge to sort of like cover most of my tank and use what little gun depression I had and the incredible turret armor on the T62A to sort of like force the enemies into very bad engagements. In this map, I'm going to do the opposite. Since I'm driving a fast heavy tank, I'm going to go to the donut as quickly as I can. Now the reason for doing that is because there's 3 RD on the enemy team. Now when you have 3 RD in especially a map like Cliff where there's little to no RD cover, you're limited in the amount of places you can actually go and be effective. So for instance, like I cannot go into the middle because RD has very easy time taking shots into the middle, and since if you look at the XVM color scheme on my map right now, or on the left hand side, I'm probably the only blue player driving a tier 10 tank, so that means I am RD priority number 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the giant cliff on the left hand side to cover myself from the RD, and then use this incredible gun to punish anything that is unfortunate enough to drive in front of me. Now initially that's what my plan was. What I was going to do strictly was going to just stick around over here and fire at anything that comes in front of me. But I soon kind of like realized that I'm not going to be having a lot of tanks and neither a lot of opportunities to shoot. This T-30 I unfortunately tracked, but it kind of like works out in the long run since he actually gets destroyed by the artillery. Now since there's nothing coming in front of me, so I kind of decided to focus my attention behind me. I see an object 430, I fire clutch, and luckily it connects, shaving off roughly 400 hit points from the object 430. Now one incredible thing about this gun is many tier 9 medium tanks have around 1600 hit points. So 4 shots onto anything that is a tier 9 medium or below will probably shave off most of their hit points. So you only need 4 shots to sort of like do your damage to a T9 medium. So over here I'm not really particularly excited into chasing the object 430-2 over the ridge, since I know he doesn't have gun depression, and as a consequence neither do I. One of the other things that you want to keep in mind that you don't want to go past this point on the left hand side of this ridge is because RD again will have very easy shots if you're sitting there. So always mask your approach with this giant hill and try to play against attacks either in the middle or either behind you. So kind of like depends what you run into. So what I'm gonna do over here right now is I'm gonna go back into the middle since I don't have a lot of opportunities to shoot where I was sitting earlier, and I see there's no more tanks. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go slightly further, see if I can locate something, and luckily for me the Flash 155 shows himself, and I take a very awkward shot, but I did not think it was gonna go in. In the meanwhile, the E75 has forever to aim at me, and luckily for me he only grazes one of my viewports, and that only knocks it out temporarily. And so I mean, you're kind of like getting the sense of what you need to do. You probably need to like play in the middle more, sort of like guard what little team you have in the middle, and against the enemy team that's behind you. Now over here I see the E100 so like has moved all the way around into our spawn, but unluckily for him there is way too many RD on our team, and so he's gonna get taken out relatively quickly. I put another shot in the object 430-2 who is not having a good day against me. He thinks he can put another shot into me successfully, but he can't. Over here I rushed this shot, and luckily for me the Jackman's 100 rushes this shot as well, so no harm done. Over here I try to ping the maps, or like trying to get the artillery's attention and a little bit hoping that they would sort of like help me. but to no avail because they just fired on the E100. I fired on the inner track of the Jagdpanzer E100, managed to do some damage. Over here I angle a little bit too much and he fires into my side, shaving off roughly half my hit points. Now I try to track the Jagdpanzer E100 again, but unfortunately for me, he backs off just in the nick of time. Now the Jagdpanzer E100, being as good of a player as he is, I don't know what he's doing. The place where he's sitting is not particularly well suited if you are in a very slow moving tank, especially the Jagdpanzer E100, because of reasons like this. Now I can sit here all day and sort of like bounce shots from the Object 430-2 and put shots into the Jagdpanzer E100. Now what I was doing was I was just keeping him tracked for the artillery to pummel him as soon as they're reloaded. I had no intention of, I actually could have damaged him, but that would have, my reload is not fast enough to sort of like track him again in the next shot, so I would have paid price for doing that. Now since the Object 430-2 got hit in the back, he tries to get behind me in order to do damage to me. Luckily for me, my turret turns around fairly quickly and the T-57 managed to take him out. I try to hide most of my hull behind the Object 430-2, but he is firing 82 rounds at me and manages to shave off 500 hit points. At this point, I don't really care. He's already fired. He's kind of like dead in the water right now. He can't really do much, but I'm kind of still afraid of already shooting in my direction. So I track him once more, and the last shot manages to finish him off. Now I see the E100 behind me fires, so instead of turning around to face him, I see the IS-7 in front of me is actually in trouble. All three BRD fire over here in my direction. Our RD fires misses the 183. I fire at the 183 and do damage to his side. I back off, wait for my reload. I aim for his lower plate. I know his reload's roughly 26 seconds and my reloads are between 18 seconds. So I had about 6 or 7 seconds to get on his side. He sort of like gets himself into a very bad position by backing into the IS-7, which means he can't really turn his tracks really easily. And at this point, I knew the E100 was coming for me, so it was just a matter of time to go back and to deal with him. Now as I start climbing this ridge in order to get to the E100, I see, I thought he might have just broken off, but no, he's just coming for me. I managed to track him with my first shot. His repair skill was quite fast, so he repairs relatively quickly. Over here, I sort of like am unlucky that I didn't track him and damage him. That was my intention of doing what I'm doing. And over here, I managed to track him one more time, and unfortunately, I don't do damage him again. So it was pretty bad luck as far as I was concerned. Trying to get the E100. Now the E100 fires on the move and manages to bounce off my armor. I know now I'm probably a one-shot for him. I fire into his lower plate and manage to side hug him. In retrospect, I should not have come back. I should have just kept going and put another shot. I bounce the shot and he dies. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. Feel free to like and subscribe, and I will get to see you in the next episode of Playing World of Tanks.